getting a lot of DMs about guys that are in dire straits and having lifetimes of situations. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of perspective, okay? I was 30 years old. My relationship of 7 years just ended. And a couple days after I got dumped, I got into the Boston Marathon. I was super stoked. So I decided the next 6 months would be all dedicated to training and healing. And I would use long distance running as my way to emotionally process. And it worked. Problem is I got in 2019, COVID started happening 2020, and the marathon got pushed and it became virtual. And they selected the dates of September 9th to September 12th. So I was training all year for this marathon. A bunch of other things happened within that time frame, but I started CK Collective, right? A couple months after the breakup, and I was working with clients. I was doing pretty well, but by the time the marathon came, okay, my ex was now dating the coworker, the guy, quote unquote, that she told me not to worry about. I was still pretty heartbroken about a year after that relationship. The worst thing was that my gym, my CrossFit gym, was located right next to her apartment complex, so I constantly had to walk past it and was getting triggered. The day the marathon came, I ran it on September 11th, 2020, when I was living in Colorado, lived in Denver. And I ran the marathon virtually by myself. I ran the first 4 miles with my dog and dropped her off at home, glass of water, kept going. I had no route, no plan. And I also had $1.96 to my name. I had a little bit of money in investments, and I had a lot of debt at this time. But in my checking account, I had $1.97. About halfway through, mile 13, 14, Denver's pretty hot. It was like 75 degrees. And I stopped in at a gas station to get a $1.99 drink, okay? Card got declined. There was no pennies in the little take a penny, leave a penny thing. And I looked at the guy and I said, I'm running a marathon. And he looked at me and was like, so? And I just took it and I ran, right? So I had technically $0 to that, convicted of theft, not convicted, but I definitely stole. And I slugged it and I ran. I finished the marathon at my CrossFit gym right next to my ex's place. And I sat there knowing that I had no money to my name, and it was the lowest that I've ever been in my entire life. Sat there for 4 hours, didn't talk to anyone. And then the worst part is I got up and I walked home 2 miles. That was the lowest that I've ever been, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Well, I was completely defeated, okay? I'm not gonna go into all of the details about that, but put yourself in those shoes for a second. It's pretty fucking low. And I decided that I was never going to feel like that again. If you're going through difficulties like this, okay, and you think that this is the worst thing you've ever been through, you're in pain. I get it. I see your long DMs. I get your orders. I know you're going through it. But you can always take the next step. You don't have to run a marathon. You don't have to do anything grand. But literally just take one step after the other. This isn't the worst thing that you're ever going to go through. You're not down and out. It will feel like that sometimes. And I will tell you that having $1.96 to my name for about the next 10 days, my dog had enough food I could provide for her, had an apartment, was paid for. I was just in between getting paid on invoices for clients. And I didn't have any real cash flow at that time. So guess what? Even after I finished the marathon, most people celebrate, they feast, they go out. I couldn't even go out for a beer. I couldn't even order food. I had to fast for the next 4 or 5 days until I got paid so I could go grocery shopping again after the marathon. It's pretty fucking shitty. And every single day, I couldn't move, couldn't buy anything, and I just had to keep working. And guess what? There was no one there to complain to. No one was coming to save me. I had to save myself. You think you're down and out, but you still have yourself at the end of the day. That's what you guys are forgetting. This is especially for the young guys. You guys think you're down and out. You think you need another person to succeed. The goal for you is to develop a level of apathy to the point where you don't give a fuck about anyone else because you have to get yourself up. You have to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And if young guys don't figure this out, you're gonna stay a boy that looks like a man forever, okay? That's your goal. Actually develop and cultivate yourself into a man, and cultivate that by not giving a fuck about anyone else for a time being, especially after heartbreak and difficult situations. Trust me, I know I've been there. It's not my only story, but that was a pretty big one. I will never forget what that was like, and all of the thoughts that were going through my head, being like, how did we get here, Cam? I'm not there anymore. I'm a long ways from that, okay? I still face challenges, so will you. But think about that story. Pretty fucking wild story. Maybe I'll put it in a book someday. But like, next time you're feeling bad for yourself, just imagine that. You just finished a marathon. No one's at the finish line for you. And then you sit in a gym where you have a couple friends but you don't see them. And then you got to walk home after marathon to a home full of no food. Bro, that was a long week, okay? You got this. Believe in yourself. Things will look up and things will get better for you, okay? See you in the next one.